All right, thank you guys, and welcome to Wildcard Weekend 2022. My name is Brock Page, and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And if you want to see which one of these wildcard playoff games that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for my NFL tier package picks on my website at brockpage.com. And the link for those picks is located in the description section below. Now, we won 2 out of our last 3 NFL tier package bets on my website in Week 18. We're also hitting at 60% in our last 15 NFL tier package picks on that very same website as well. And if you've been thinking, about getting a package on that website, but you're still a little bit on the fence about pulling the trigger, well, just keep in mind, we currently have over 825 members who are currently signed up and active on that website right now. But as far as the free picks go, let's go ahead and dive into it. We're going to start with the Raiders taking on the Bengals, and that's going to be a 4:30 p.m. Eastern start time on Saturday. The Cincinnati Bengals are minus 6.5 with a total at 49. Now, Cincy successfully covered the point spread in 8 out of their last 10 meetings with the Raiders. So if you're into historical trends, well, you got to give that one to Cincinnati. Now, the Bengals also have one of the most dynamic young talents in the NFL in Joe Burrow. Having said all that, though, Cincinnati does lack experience in the postseason, and the Bengals did lose 3 out of their final 6 ball games of the regular season. Now, they currently have a losing record against the point spread at home. And speaking of home games, this Bengals defense has had a real tough time slowing down the pass at Paul Brown Stadium. Now, the Cincy secondary is in the bottom 3 in home pass defense, and they also find themselves in the bottom 3 in defensive yards per play at home as well. They're taking on a red-hot Vegas club who won their last 4 straight themselves, and they also currently find themselves amongst the league leaders in pass yards per game. Now, Derek Carr has thrown for over 4,800 yards this season, along with 23 touchdowns. The Raiders also played their best football on the road this year, winning 5 out of their last 8 when traveling. Now, when it comes to the injury report in this one, Phylon is questionable to play Saturday with a lower body injury. Meanwhile, for Cincy, Reeder, Uzamoa, Davis, McPherson, and Sample, they're all listed as questionable for them. When it comes to the total in this one, the Raiders saw games with the Chargers, Kansas City, and Dallas recently get over the posted number. Meanwhile, the Bengals went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games themselves. They also went 6-3 to the over this year in front of their home fans. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Las Vegas Raiders plus 6.5, keeping this one close in the over 49. All right, next ball game. It is going to be Patriots versus the Bills, and that's going to be an 8:15 Eastern kickoff on Saturday night. The Buffalo Bills are minus 4.5 with a total at 43 points. And although the performance of Josh Allen certainly overshadows a lot of what the Bills do right, there's a lot of focus on the young quarterback. Just keep in mind, guys, that this Bills team is currently in the top 5 in the NFL in rush yards per game at home. Now, the Bills also score over 28 points a game on average, and they currently rank in the top 5 in total yards per contest. Now, you do have to mention Josh Allen when you're talking about the Bills. He's thrown for over 4,400 yards this season, along with 36 touchdowns. Now, his favorite target, Stephon Diggs, he also has 103 grabs for over 1,200 yards and 10 scores as well. And when it comes to this Bills defense, well, New England better run the ball every play like they did in their first meeting this year because the Bills have the best pass defense in the NFL. Now, Buffalo allows only 17 points per contest, and they're limiting their competition to just $163 passing a game. They're taking on a New England squad who failed to cover in 3 out of their last 4 ball games. And they actually got the outright W just once during that stretch. So we're looking at a Patriots team who kind of crawled past the finish line here in the regular season. Now, the Pats have been little threat to throw the football on the road this year. They're currently in the bottom 5 in the NFL in road passing. But I'll tell you this much, the area that really concerns me the most for Patriots backers is their rush defense, believe it or not. They could potentially be exploited in this ball game here. The Pats currently find themselves in the bottom 10 in the league in stopping the run on the road. And like I said earlier, the Bills, they do a great job running the football. Not a lot of people talk about that. But this is a Bills team who can grind it out on the ground. Now, injury-wise, Hightower and Duggar are questionable to play for New England. Meanwhile, Sanders and Obata are battling lower body injuries here for the Bills. And when it comes to the total in this one, Buffalo is 6-3 to the under at Highmark Stadium. Meanwhile, the Patriots saw 5 out of their last 8 road games fall under the posted number themselves. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Buffalo minus 4.5 and the under 43. Next matchup, it is going to be Eagles versus the Bucs, and that's going to be a 1 o'clock Eastern start time on Sunday. Now, Tampa Bay is minus 9 with a total at 48.5. Now, the Bucs have been almost unbeatable this year at home. They're 7-1 straight up at Raymond James Stadium. They also went 6-2 against the number in those 8 home games. So these guys have been absolutely dominant in Tampa, cashing a lot of tickets as well with regard to the point spread. Having said all that, though, the Bucs have done very little to establish a run game this season. They're gaining just 98 yards a game on the ground, somewhat of a one-dimensional ball club offensively. Now, the Bucs have also struggled out of the blocks offensively in the second half. Slow starters in the final 30 minutes. Tampa Bay is currently in the bottom 10 in third quarter scoring in front of their home fans. Now, they're taking on a Philly team who won 6 out of their last 8, and they play their best football on the road. As a matter of fact, the Eagles went 6-3 straight up when traveling this year, and they currently find themselves in the top 3 in the entire NFL in fewest road points allowed. Alex Singleton leads the franchise in tackles with 137 of them. Meanwhile, TJ Edwards has 130 tackles himself. And Darius Slay, big play Slay, he has 3 defensive touchdowns on the year. So look for those guys to possibly step up here this Sunday and help this team cover the number. Now, this Eagles defense currently ranks in the top 5 in fewest yards allowed per play away from home. Meanwhile, offensively, the Birds actually rush for more yards per contest than any other team in the game. This is the best rushing team in all of football. Now, they've done a real nice job protecting the football offensively. They rarely turn the ball over. And when it comes to this injury report here, Philadelphia is relatively healthy coming into this ball game. You don't see that a lot for them heading into the postseason, but they're not as banged up as they normally are. Meanwhile, for Tampa Bay, Sherman, Pierre-Paul, Jones, and Watson, they are listed as questionable for them. And when it comes to the total in this one, Tampa Bay saw 5 out of their last 9 ball games fall under the posted number. Unders against the likes of Atlanta, New York Giants, and Washington during that stretch. Meanwhile, the Eagles, they saw unders against the likes of Washington and the New York Giants themselves. So a lot of unders, within that NFC East. Now, Philadelphia is officially 5-4 to the under in all of their road games this year as well. I'm going to lean toward Philadelphia plus 9, keeping this one close, and the under 48.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Niners versus the Cowboys, 4:30 Eastern kickoff. Dallas is minus 3 with a total at 50.5. And although there's really not much to nitpick when it comes to this Dallas team, they've been really good this year. They have had the fortune of beating up on a really weak NFC East this season. The Cowboys also tend to start a little slow defensively. They're currently in the bottom 10 in the NFL in first quarter points allowed. They're taking on a Niners team who won 7 out of their last 9 down the home stretch, and they successfully covered the point spread in 78% of those contests I just mentioned. The Niners also play their best football on the road, and they're currently in the top 3 in the league in fewest yards allowed per contest. Nick Bosa, he has 15.5 sacks on the season, along with 21 tackles for loss and 4 forced fumbles. This guy has been just absolutely dominant. Meanwhile, Fred Warner, he's all over the field as well. He leads this club in tackles with 137 of them, along with 3 fumble recoveries. And when it comes to offensive performance, well, believe it or not, the Niners are currently in the top 3 in the NFL in offensive yards per play on the road. They've actually been pretty good offensively when traveling. Now, when it comes to the injury report, Mitchell, Williams, Hurst, Harris, and Tart, they are all listed as questionable for the Niners. Meanwhile, for Dallas, Pollard, Diggs, Coyle, Neal, Parsons, and Gallup, they are questionable for them. Now, when it comes to the total in this one, 4 out of Dallas's last 6 did stay under the posted number. They also went 70% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, 4 out of the 49ers' last 5 fell under the total themselves. 6 and 3 to the under in their last 9. I'm going to lean towards San Francisco +3 and the under 50.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Steelers versus the Chiefs, 8:15 East. Kansas City's -12.5 with the total at 46. But before you go pounding the Chiefs in this one, just keep in mind they did fail to cover in their last 2 straight ball games. And Kansas City's also averaged just 20 points per contest in their last 10 head-to-head meetings with Pittsburgh. So if you're into historical trends, you may want to think about that particular stat there. Having said all that, though, Kansas City still successfully covered the point spread in 6 out of their last 9 ball games. And they've actually been... Hello? I didn't hear you come down. It scared me. That's okay. Anyway, Kansas City, they successfully covered the point spread in 6 out of their last 9 ball games. And they've been really good at Arrowhead Stadium this year. Kansas City's currently 7-2 straight up in front of their home crowd. And they're currently in the top 5 in the NFL in passing yards per game. Patrick Mahomes threw for over 4,800 yards along with 37 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, they each had well over 1,100 yards receiving apiece. And when it comes to defensive play, the Chiefs actually have been solid at home as well. They're currently in the top 5 in the league in fewest home points allowed per contest. They're taking on a Pittsburgh squad who averaged just 17 points a game in their final 4 contests this year. And they also got the W in only 3 out of 8 road games this year. And speaking of road games, this Steeler offense ranks in the bottom 5 in offensive yards per play when traveling. Meanwhile, defensively on the other side of the football, these guys allow more yards a game on the ground than any other team in the NFL. Now, injury-wise, Moore is questionable for the Steelers. Meanwhile, for Kansas City, Edwards, Hilaire, and Baker, they are questionable for them. And when it comes to the total in this one, the Chiefs saw a contest with Denver, Dallas, and Green Bay this season fall under the posted total. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh saw 3 out of their last 4 fall under the line themselves. 11-6 of the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward Kansas City -12.5 in the under 46. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Cardinals versus the Rams. And that's going to be an 8:15 Eastern kickoff on Monday night. The LA Rams are -4 with the total at 50.5. Now, the Rams did fail to cover in their last 2 straight, just 4-6 against the spread in their last 10. The Rams have also done very little to establish a run game this season. They're currently in the top 5 in running the football at home. They're taking on an Arizona team who ranks in the top 3 in the NFL in rush defense on the road. That particular matchup there should favor Arizona. And speaking of road games, the Cards play their best football away from their home field. They're 8-1 straight up when traveling this season, and they successfully covered the point spread in 89% of those contests I just mentioned. Kyler Murray completed nearly 70% of his passes this season and threw for nearly 3,800 yards after missing 3 games. Now, the Cards currently rank in the top 5 in the NFL in road scoring. Meanwhile, defensively, Marcus Golden and Chandler Jones, they have 21.5 total sacks between the two of them. Arizona currently finds themselves in the top 3 in fewest road points allowed. And when it comes to the injury report, Harris, Phillips, Edmonds, Moore, and Wilson, they are listed as questionable for Arizona. Meanwhile, for the Rams, well, they're relatively healthy themselves, so they do have that going for them. But anyway, when it comes to the total in this one, 5 out of the Rams' last 9 fell under the line. Unders against the likes of Baltimore, Seattle, and Jacksonville. Meanwhile, the Cardinals saw 4 out of their last 7 fall under the posted number themselves. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Arizona Cardinals +4 and the under 50.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are currently hitting at 60% in our last 15 NFL tier package picks. I like Las Vegas +6.5 over 49. Buffalo Bills -4.5 under 43. Philadelphia +9 under 48 and a hook. San Francisco +3 under 50.5. Kansas City -12.5 under 46. And for my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward Arizona +4 in the under 50.5. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on my website at brockpage.com, you're going to get access to those picks all the way through the end of January. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And if you guys want to get access to every single pick that I give out on that website, you may want to think about signing up for my board member tier, where board members get access to every single pick that I give out on that webpage all the way through the end of January. But most importantly, guys, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.